My name is Sophia. I am 29 years old. I live in a small town surrounded by hills and long, quiet roads. From the outside, my life looked stable and successful. I worked as a nurse in the local hospital. Every morning, I woke up at 5:30, made coffee, tied my hair back, and walked to work in the cold morning air. I knew my job well. I knew how to calm a worried patient, how to speak softly to a crying family member, and how to stay strong during long night shifts. People respected me. My parents were proud of me. They told everyone that their daughter worked in a hospital and helped save lives. I smiled when they said that, but deep inside, I felt something was missing. I felt like I was walking on a straight road that I never chose myself. One evening, an old woman named Marta was brought into the hospital. She was very weak and needed constant care. I was assigned to look after her during my night shifts. Marta had kind eyes and a quiet smile. Even when she was tired, she liked to talk. She told me about her youth, about dancing in the rain, about a man who wrote her letters during the war. She said she once wanted to become a painter. She wanted to travel and see the world. But she was afraid. She chose a safe life instead. One night, while I was checking her medicine, she looked at me and asked, "Sophia, what is your dream?" I stopped for a moment. No one had asked me that question in many years. I tried to answer, but I could not. I said I liked helping people. She smiled gently and said, "Helping people is good, but that is not a dream. That is responsibility." Her words stayed in my heart. A few days later, Marta passed away peacefully. I stood near her bed and felt a quiet sadness, but I also felt fear. I was afraid that one day I would look back at my life and realize I never tried to follow my own dream. That night, I went home and searched through old boxes in my closet. I found my childhood notebooks. They were filled with drawings, faces, mountains, trees, and small imaginary cities. When I was a child, I wanted to become an artist. I wanted to paint large canvases and show them to the world. But my father said art was not practical. He said I needed a stable career. I agreed because I did not want to disappoint him. I chose nursing school instead. It was safe and respected. But it was not my dream. The next day after work, I bought a sketchbook and some pencils. I felt nervous, like I was doing something wrong. I sat at my kitchen table and started drawing the view from my window. At first, my hand felt stiff and unsure. But slowly, I began to relax. I felt calm in a way I had not felt for years. I drew again the next night and the next. Drawing became the best part of my day. I started bringing my sketchbook to work and drawing during breaks. A young doctor named Alex noticed one of my sketches. He looked at it carefully and said, "You are very talented. Why are you not studying art?" I laughed and said I was too old to start again. He shook his head and said, "You are not too old. You are just afraid." His words were simple but true. For months, I lived two lives. During the day, I was Nurse Sophia. At night, I was Artist Sophia. I watched videos about painting techniques. I practiced shading and colors. I painted small canvases in my living room. I felt energy and excitement. One evening, I saw an advertisement for an art program in the city. It was a 2-year course for people who wanted to become professional artists. My heart started beating fast. I filled out the application late at night. When I pressed send, my hands were shaking. 3 weeks later, I received an email. I was accepted. I stared at the screen for a long time. I felt happy and terrified at the same time. That evening, I told my parents during dinner. My mother looked worried. My father was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "Are you sure?" I nodded. I told him I did not want to regret my life. He looked at me carefully and said, "If this is truly your dream, then try." His support gave me strength. I left my job at the hospital and moved to a small apartment in the city. I found a part-time job in a cafe to pay rent. The first months were difficult. I was tired and sometimes unsure of myself. Some of the other students were younger and more confident, but I worked hard. I practiced every day. I painted hospitals, old faces, empty streets, and mountains from my childhood. My teachers said my work had emotion and depth. At the end of the first year, we organized a small exhibition. I was nervous when people entered the gallery. I stood near my paintings and watched their reactions. One woman stopped in front of a painting of an old woman sitting by a window. She asked me about it. I told her it was inspired by Marta. The woman said she could feel the story in the image. She bought the painting. When she handed me the money, I felt tears in my eyes. It was not about the money, it was about belief. Now 2 years have passed. I have my own small studio space with large windows and white walls. I still work part-time, but most of my time is spent painting. My parents visited my latest exhibition. My father stood quietly in front of my paintings. When he turned to me, his eyes were soft and proud. He said he was happy I was brave. Sometimes I think about Marta and her question, "What is your dream?" I am grateful she asked me. I learned that fear will always be there, but regret is heavier. I learned that it is never too late to start again. I am Sophia. I once lived a safe life that did not belong to me. Now I live a life that is sometimes difficult, but it is mine. And when I hold a brush in my hand, I know I chose the right road.